Alien Romulus is a sci-fi horror film directed and co-written by Fede Alvarez. It is the 9th installment in the Alien franchise and serves as a standalone interquel set between the events of 1979's Alien and 1986's Aliens. The film stars Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Archie Renault, and Isabella Merced. Its plot follows a group of young space colonists who, while scavenging a derelict space station, come face to face with a xenomorph. This review will contain spoilers. I don't normally do spoiler reviews, but this film has been out for a while, and to support my opinion, I'm going to need to talk about some particular things. As a massive Alien fan, I have sat with this film for a while, and despite having only seen it once, my feelings haven't changed. I do hope to rewatch it when I get the time. So that's your spoiler warning. My excitement was about as high as I let it get for this film. I'm pretty good at keeping my expectations in check these days. I do expect a lot from the Alien franchise, however. I'm pretty fair when it comes to the series, though. I consider most entries to be good at the least. This one ranks pretty low among the pack for me because I think it is just too in love with the first film from 1979. I think that this is the least original film in the series, with hardly anything new to offer. I loved Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead from 2013, which itself was a sort of reimagining of the original, but it took the story to a wildly different place tonally and aesthetically. The choice of Alvarez as director held great promise for me, and true to form, the film is very well directed. The production design is immaculate. Not only does it feel tangible, but it feels lived in. The sets are really immersive. The cinematography is gorgeous. I love everything about the look of the film, and I just love being in its world. Alvarez knows how to stage a thrilling action sequence, and I will get to praising some of those later. My issues lie with the screenplay. It was Alfred Hitchcock who said, "To make a great film, you need 3 things: the script, and the script." However amusing, he was absolutely right. Your film lives and dies by its script. If it isn't alive on the page, then it isn't alive on the screen. The bells and whistles can't carry you through the whole picture. I love that the beginning of the film shows us the lives of the characters, the state that they're in. This is the first time that we've really gotten to see our characters before they set off on their journey in space, in this franchise. I loved Kaylee Spaney in Civil War and Priscilla. She can be pretty transformative as an actress. I'm very excited to see what comes of her career. She does a commendable job here as Rain Carradine, an orphaned miner. Rain is more intriguing than well-rounded, but I still liked her very much. It was a nice change of pace to have such a young protagonist. The single most interesting idea in this film comes in the form of her relationship with David Johnson's character of Andy, a synthetic reprogrammed by Rain's late father as her surrogate brother. We have never seen an android like this from the series. He is a worthy addition to the great android characters of films past. Johnson and Spaney have great chemistry, and the film's beating heart is Rain's undying loyalty to Andy, who she considers to be her real brother unequivocally. There is so much depth behind Johnson's performance. He has an extremely expressive face. I am invested in seeing what the future holds for these characters, as I'm sure we will get a sequel. Not only has the studio talked of it, but the film made $350 million on an $80 million budget, so it would be crazy not to do a sequel. I hope a sequel would take this story to more adventurous places. I also hear that Ridley Scott is planning a new Alien film, and I'm honestly more interested in that. Either way, it seems a great time to be an Alien fan, as we have had a bit of a drought for the better part of a decade. Unfortunately, the rest of the characters are nothing to write home about. Just fodder for the xenomorph. I'm also going to have to stop pronouncing xenomorph with a long E sound, as this film uses a short E sound, and I like the sound of it. Xenomorph. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty cool. I don't know if that's supposed to be how it's pronounced, but I like that. As much as I do not like Alien Resurrection, this film takes a few things from it. The first 3 films have many great supporting characters, but Alien Resurrection features a bunch of disposable ones. This film is no different. It also takes the idea of the human-alien hybrid. I, like many, didn't like the way that concept was utilized in Alien Resurrection, but here, I kind of loved it. The design of this creature was super creepy, and the first time that it appeared on screen in that shot where it's like emerged in darkness, there were audible gasps all across my cinema. It was a really cool moment. And the reason that you could hear all of these gasps is because of the excellent sound design in this film. That scene was completely silent and you could hear a penny drop in the cinema. While we are on the subject of the hybrid, I have to talk about something that I hated during the third act. And I don't use the word hate lightly. I was so annoyed that Andy uttered the classic line from Aliens, "Get away from her, you bitch." I had a feeling they were going to do it, and whenever reboots do this kind of thing, it immediately takes me out of the experience. It makes it feel inauthentic, like some kind of product. I want to be immersed. I want to believe what I'm watching is real. I want to escape for 2 hours, but I also want to soak in the lore. That's how you create stakes and emotional investment. Why would a character in the film reference another film in the franchise? It doesn't make sense. It's almost meta. I hate that. It is like waving at the audience, encouraging them to remember a better film, which you're sort of screwing yourself over in that sense. Why would you want to remind me of Aliens so I can immediately sigh and remember how much better it is than the film I'm currently watching? Now, that line, which actually held maternal relevance in Aliens, was spoken in canon by Andy before Ellen Ripley. That's preposterous. Who was the person that thought that that was a good idea? Where is the market research that backs up that idea as being intelligent in any way at all? Why would you want to risk getting audiences offside like that? You may think that I'm taking this way too seriously and it's just like such a small moment, but it comes at the end of one of the climactic action sequences and it really kills it for me. I disagree that I'm taking it too seriously if you think so. It is such an out of touch and easily avoidable moment. That is why it frustrates me. I often get more frustrated by the little things like that because they were easily avoidable. The same argument can be made for the more egregious reference to the original film. My single biggest gripe with this film, the digital resurrection of actor Ian Holm for the synthetic known as Rook. Holm played Ash in the original film. I understand that the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is going to have multiple models of the same android, but I just don't understand why you would include this when you could just have a totally new android. You could argue that it is unethical to resurrect Ian Holm for this, but his family clearly signed off on it, so my bigger issue is just the uncanny nature of it all. Once again, something that is easily avoidable, but this time something they put a ridiculous amount of money and work into. I'd forgive it if it was maybe 1 or 2 scenes, but he is in so much of the movie. He has a lot of important dialogue, however I struggled to take in what he was talking about at times, which is really unfortunate. This is because I was taken out of the scene every time I had to look at his face. It was so distracting. He just doesn't look real. I've seen the effect done better elsewhere, but I still am not a fan of the effect overall. Especially when it's not important to the story that it is Ian Holm. It could have been a different android. Once again, this is something that was so easily avoidable. Just make him a different model synthetic. But this is what I mean about this film being too in love with Ridley Scott's original. It just is desperate to reference it. I have that film, I love that film, if I want to watch that film, I will watch that film. Give me something new. They would rather use the whole opportunity of this android character as a reference to remind you of a better film. Once again, why would I want to be reminded of something better than what I'm currently watching? Another example is the xenomorph actually being the one from the first film. I don't really have an issue with this personally. Did we need it? No, but it connects the films in an organic enough way to justify this one's place in the canon. There are references to Alien 3 and Prometheus in there too, but I'm not going to bother picking those apart as they're relatively minor. I just wanted to highlight the big references to illustrate the lack of originality in this film and how it takes me out of the experience. The action sequences are very well staged. The zero gravity sequence with the acid blood was an awesome idea that I really enjoyed watching play out. They set it up in a great way. It would honestly make for a good video game level. I also liked the sequences where the characters have to race for time or sneak around, such as Kay's escape sequence. There is some pretty good tension in those sequences. Once again, the visuals are magnificent and the sound design is excellent. This is genuinely the best the xenomorph has ever looked. The practical effects and the CGI are blended to tremendous effect, and I appreciated the emphasis on practical effects. I loved the use of the facehuggers this time around. In the past, they have been more of a means to an end and only featured briefly. Here they craft a couple of sequences around them being very fast moving and invasive threats. The scenes with chest bursting and birthing are effective in this film regardless of how much they are telegraphed. I did think that the way the xenomorph was defeated was a bit cartoonish, but the film had a pretty solid third act and a decent setup at the beginning of the film. Overall, this film is just a very mixed bag for me. Unfortunately, the negatives do outweigh the positives in my book, but not so much as to totally kill my enjoyment I have for the film, on a basic level at least. As a huge Alien fan, I'm going to dissect the hell out of this, that's just the way I am, but I do love the world that they set up, so even though this is far from my favourite Alien film, it is still far from the worst. It is one that I can enjoy for its triumphs, which include the fantastic score, cinematography, effects, and main characters. Mainly the technical elements, but I do find Rain and Andy's relationship very intriguing. Hopefully we can get something more original and well written next time around, something that doesn't obsess over the original film or its sequel. We have those, they're great, give us something new please. As much as many didn't like Prometheus and Alien Covenant, they were new, and they took the series somewhere interesting that made it feel bigger. I loved so much about those movies and hope that what Scott is working on is a conclusion to that trilogy. I do get a bit tired of the way these characters stumble upon xenomorphs. I wish they could be more imaginative about that. I don't see this as a slasher franchise where you can recycle elements ever so often. I see it as a groundbreaking and sophisticated science fiction franchise that is full of innovation. It has so much potential for expansion. I would like to see another film directed by Fede Alvarez, as I do think he is a great director. And I want to see that film featuring Rain and Andy. They are interesting characters. We just need a stronger and more ambitious screenplay next time around.